Welcome to the Society Pod, a podcast for entrepreneurs, marketers, and leaders. Here's your host, Jessica Yarmy.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Society Pod. My guest today is a passionate member of the fitness and wellness community. He's a champion of the fitness and wellness community. He currently serves as the Chief Health and Wellness Officer at KORB Health Group. He's on the front lines of some of the top medical and wellness trends like peptides and GLP-1s. He's also the founder of CrossFit South Lamar in Austin. Welcome to the show, Dave Appel.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
It's great to finally connect with you. We've been in the same circles for a very long time. If you and I met and you had the opportunity to introduce yourself to me from the get-go, how do you introduce yourself?
I would say somebody that's always in it and always looking for what's coming, trying to see at least 5 to 10 years ahead of what's going on, and then trying to be there before we ever get there. Always been in fitness and wellness, but also looking at it from the perspective of who's the beneficiary of this. Is it financial, or are we really going to change some folks' lives with these tools?
Well, that's what we're doing in the fitness industry, and that's why you and I both love it and have been in it for as long as we have. We truly have the opportunity to change lives, which is so important. So you're with KORB Health Group. What is KORB? What is your mission? And how are you looking to serve communities?
KORB was created by Brock Rush. So we're kind of in that startup. We're 3 years into this. Brock has been in the pharma side of industry, I think, as long as I've been in the fitness side of it, and has created 6, 7 different companies, sold them. When he created this one, we were actually working together kind of post-COVID era. They lived in the neighborhood where our CrossFit is. We met. I ended up training his whole family. At that time, I had just started jumping around into the peptide world and started using. We connected on that. So he went away for a little bit, told me he wasn't going to start another company, started another company, which ended up being KORB. So KORB's a telehealth medical wellness company. What makes us unique in the space is that everybody that works for KORB is an employee of the company. So our providers are actually employees of the company. So we don't do any kind of 1099 work. There's no farming out, which actually becomes the biggest part of this, the care. The care of end user, our patients, are with the most passionate people I think I've ever met in overall wellness. Like these women and men that we have on our team really are very passionate about making sure that they help people in the right way. This was a new venture for me, but this company, with Brock's kind of guidance and tutelage on this, we're really jumped into the space quick. This is just one of the verticals that we're working in, is the health and wellness space.
You like to be on the forefront and you like to be thinking ahead. And now you are kind of sitting in a pharma with health, kind of two different lanes that are looking to pretty quickly converge here in a little bit. What are you paying attention to in those two different spaces, and how quickly do you see them converging?
You know, the GLP-1s, it's not like they're new. They've been around quite a while. How quickly they interjected into the space. It's quick, but it's more talk about them potentially coming in and what's it going to do to the overall space. That didn't take very long. I think the forefront that people were thinking about, oh, it's going to destroy the industry more than it's going to drive the industry, was the leader. But now we're really seeing is like 50% of the people that get on GLP-1s are thinking about joining a gym. The New York Times did an article on Jamie Seltzer, guy that kind of started at 600 pounds, tried all the different things, and the gym was the last place he wanted to go. And now he's really found himself. He's got a rhythm to life. And I think that's really a big part of this. The GLPs are still coming into the space, but how are they being used? How are they actually being implemented into the structure, the ecosystem of the facilities that are going to be selling them? That part I've not really seen yet. There's some really, really smart people in this space, but to me, it's an integration of, if you're going to be doing this, please let us know so our trainers can train you the right way. Because if you come in, you haven't eaten in 48 hours because you don't feel like eating. Falling out on the fitness floor is something that could happen in a way that's not really happened before. Unleashing those biases of like, hey, it's okay. We want to know because we want to train you and care for you the right way. The growth is there. Put an article on LinkedIn about this. GLP-1s are here and they're not going anywhere. But are you ready for what's getting ready to come? And it's another battery of peptides that do all kinds of different things. It's almost like the inundation of all this stuff. How does it slow itself down to really percolate into the system in a way that can be functionally put into it safely? I'm excited about peptides. I mean, they're all peptides. I think GLP-1s kind of get lumped into not being, but these are all naturally occurring amino acids in your system, but we still need to have the correct guidance around all this stuff. The cart is getting a little bit in front of the horse on this, and I think to make it successful, we're going to have to pull back on the reins and make sure that, like you said, all of the things are tied together. There isn't one thing over here and we got to run over across the street to go get an answer on that. It's like, how do we really hold that whole ecosystem together? I don't think we're there yet.
I'm generally, personally not a fan of any, prescription medicine, and I don't do GLP-1s. And my initial reaction to it was very much like, you're not learning the correct habits, you're just fast fixing. In our industry, we've always had the fast fixes. I think that's where some of the pushback comes from. But I do think it's a big enough trend and it's a big enough wave that, number one, it could be the thing that does get people off the couch and into facilities. But then number two, it really could be the thing that bridges medical to fitness, because it has to. You can't have the two sides of the equation not talking to each other anymore. I think we've all in the industry believed that there needs to be a better line of communication from health practitioner to wellness fitness practitioner. And that's how we really could unlock supporting our communities better. What are the numbers right now that you're seeing on GLP-1s? Because it does seem to be everywhere right now.
Yeah, the Super Bowl, for one, was just like every other commercial was a different company. The numbers right now, 1 in 8 have tried or are using a GLP-1. By 2030, 30 million people will be on it to some degree. The thing right now is the integration of the pill. So the pill's going to be more heavily adopted just because of the ease of use. How efficient it is, how it really works, I think we're still kind of waiting to see the results on that. But to kind of answer it from a little bit different lens though. So when I started, I've been in the trenches. When you're in fitness, you kind of only see what you see on a daily basis. So when I started with KORB, we started a lot of educational webinars. And as I started, I didn't understand this demographic. So we would do a series of 3 webinars. Webinar 1, introduction, welcome to telehealth and what the expectation of being on the medication is going to be, and the attendance is very high. And then the second one is on nutrition, and the attendance dropped about half. And then the third one was on fitness, and there would be 1 to 2 people that would show up. I'm learning. This is all different triggers and different communication styles, that fitness is not the word that's going to draw them in. If anything, that's the most terrifying area that they're living in. What does that even mean? How do I get fit? Really learning. We're talking about a totally different group of people that probably have never had a gym membership. They've never even contemplated why they would want one. I think as people start to get into this and they start to feel different, from my perspective, a lot of folks are living an out-of-body experience. A lot of things really don't resonate that I think, we talked about it earlier. We've been in this our whole life. So when you're kind of living it, you're like, well, how are you not in tune with what's going on inside you? Unfortunately, I think most people are really not there. And this could be the thing that allows them to get some success in a way, really see loss, feel the clothes fitting different. And you also had mentioned, and I just want to circle back to this, is that you're 100% on. The drug is not a magic bullet. If you think that just taking this medication is going to fix everything, it 100% is not. You're going to lose weight, but the way you're going to lose weight is actually going to put you in a worse position than when you started. If you're not doing anything to salvage the muscle that you have, and we know being in that industry, muscle is the hardest thing to build. So you lose all of it, losing extra muscle on top of that, and then you quit the drug for a while, let's say, and then you come back 6 months later, you're at a worse deficit. And those are the things that, again, I'm learning more and more through the one-on-ones I have with our providers. And what are they hearing and how are they dealing with it? Unfortunately, in the United States, most people don't know how to take care of themselves. We're not taught how to eat, how to exercise. I started this off as a PE teacher. You teach them to play games. I always kind of laughed. I'm like, man, I've never seen a 30-year-old get together with a group of people and go play a game of tag. Every other program that we're teaching our children is supposed to have some longevity to it, except for this thing. We're really at a crossroads here. it's not going to go away because the source of the problem isn't really being handled at all. So many different factors that are kind of put us where we're at. It's going to take a lot of different people getting together. All of these things need to be in one house. So when you're speaking about it, you have multiple people being able to reference like, oh, exercise is great. And then you have a doctor that sits over here and it's like, yeah, as long as you're doing this and you're adding it with it and red light and blah, blah, blah. And they all work, but let's all sit in the same room together.
I was just out at the HFA conference, and if I had one wish list for the HFA, it would be to step up as a leadership entity in the industry and start being that aggregator, because we now have amazingly rich data on our members, how they use their gym, how they feed their body, how they sleep. We have all of that data now, and it's still fragmented. And in the era of AI and every single bit of computation that we should be able to do, we're not able to do it because we still, as an industry, are in silos and maybe in competitive seats with each other. And it really doesn't need to be like that. That's such an area of opportunity for us as an industry. As you're talking specifically about GLP-1s, I see it as an opportunity for gym owners, for boutique studio owners, for CrossFit box owners. So as you're talking to that audience, how do you kind of recommend they frame the GLP-1 opportunity?
The boutique, the smaller owners, to me, I think have the biggest, largest opportunity because they're closer to the people. A lot of this is relationship based. These folks are looking for a place to feel welcomed, to feel like they're kind of seen, talked with and not to. We value one member compared to 100 this week. So the smaller numbers, the more you're tied to it. You know, a lot of folks that are operators and own 1 to 5 or whatever that might be, you know, that's their livelihood. They kind of live and die by it. Large growth opportunity for the smaller entities to be able to really jump into. I haven't seen anybody yet really jump on this to be, I'm the GLP-1 trainer. I am looking for you. Come here. I want to talk to you. I want to hang out with you. The opportunity is so ripe for that. It's a great way to be able to fill the seats with people that change somebody's life in a way that impacts it way bigger than we can even comprehend. That's the largest marketing tool you can get. That person's going to run around and tell everybody, you have got to go get trained by Jessica. She is amazing. That kind of growth, you can't put a number on. And it's easier to pivot as well. You don't have to go through so many layers, chain of command to get to, let's change something, let's add something. You can kind of play around and flow with it a little bit easier. I think a lot of times the little guys create some pretty amazing stuff that gets swooped in and absorbed by some of the larger entities. And that's when it loses its luster. When we're trying to scale community, all last year going to all the events, all I heard is, we want community, we want community. Community isn't 50,000 people. Like, you need a mayor and all kinds of support group in a club kind of thinking about that kind of a community. I'm like, man, that seems really large to be able to have that. So I look at CrossFits and all these other folks that are really grinding it out with a lot of passion. You know, because you see it. You see how you change people's lives. And that's the part that I think for a lot of us, you know, really is the exciting part when you're that close to it.
I totally agree with you on the buzzword of community. And to truly execute that, you need to meet people where they are. You know, maybe a few years ago, we were thinking of it through the lens of like someone might be in their car in the parking lot, afraid to come in. Can we meet those people where they are? Can we make the whole experience less intimidating and less judgmental? Those two words were a trend in the industry for a bit, you know, the judgment-free zone and, you know, no judgments and all of that. And then now here we are as an industry, we're still judging, but we're judging the GLP-1 users, and where they're at is they're ready at home and they're on social media seeing things about Ozempic butt. We can fix that. We got to meet them where they are and use the language that they're using to kind of say, like, we see you and we can do that. So it's not just the challenges of the years past where it's like all about weight, but now it is like about shape and it's about muscle mass, and such an interesting opportunity. And I do agree with you that like the smaller boxes have the opportunity to move fastest and maybe cater to that audience. So you as a box owner, CrossFit box, do you like that I use your language? I meet you where you are. You're a box owner. And how are you catering to GLP-1 users at your facility?
It's a soft sell. We have all kinds of material where people we think will actively want to get more information about it. So in the restroom, in social media, so it's not out on the gym floor. We do a lot of intakes with folks when they're coming in. Sometimes people will ask, hey, we saw that you're offering GLP-1s. What does that look like? It's a conversation that it's like, hey, well, we wanted to make sure if you're going to be on these, we knew where it was coming from. We chose somebody to make sure that we knew what they were doing if you're going to try this. And we also wanted you guys to know that it's okay. Like, it's a conversation. Let's talk about it. Be open with what's going on in here. We'd rather know on the forefront you're interested or you're using this rather than you get in the middle of the workout, feel like you're going to pass out. And then the trainer's trying to be like, well, what's going on? Have you eaten? Where are you at in this journey? Now that I've kind of stepped away from the gym and my wife operates and runs it a little bit more, we've talked about doing more educational. If we tell somebody we're going to come in and do something, 100 people will show up and we can have that opportunity to talk through all the things. The thing about offering them was most interesting was when I was still in the gym, I had people come in and kind of say, hey, I started the GLPs. One of them was like, I'm never going to stop. The amount of space I got back in my brain from all the food chatter that I used to have. And now that that's gone, I never want to deal with that again. So that was really a learning opportunity. Some of the other folks that came up, they're like, hey, tell me more about the drinking benefits of this, that I'm not going to want to drink as much. They're like, I want to drink a glass of wine, not a bottle. And so that was another eye opener. I'm like, these are way outside of the weight loss track of what a lot of folks were coming to me and asking me questions about. So I thought it was really interesting. I think that's where a lot of people are slipping through on this, is that there's a lot of things that people are hearing and it's hard to keep up. The inundation of the amount of content that people take in on a daily basis. It's like, do I take it? Do I not? What's going to happen? Like you said, I'm going to get an Ozempic butt and face and all this is going to, what else? What am I going to have to do? How do I keep up? But just being there for them, that they have somebody they trust to be able to come in and ask a question to and get feedback. That's all it really takes with just about anything, The earlier on, when you'd asked about what KORB is, telehealth, when I started, I thought you just called in, looked at somebody and you just got your drug and you didn't have to deal with it. And what I'm really learning is that telehealth now is growing into a platform where you really are able to get the care that you're looking for a very specific program. That is why I'm so passionate, I think, about the merging of these two together. Is like, oh, when somebody has somebody they trust, which are providers on the back end, it's just like a personal trainer. Every month they meet, they talk, they start to divulge more and more information, and that's trust. And now they can help to hold them accountable. Hey, are you eating? No. Well, you need to eat. We can't just bump the drug up. They can have real conversation with folks. And that's the key to all of this, in a sense. Is like, let's educate them. Let's hold them accountable. We wouldn't do it on the training floor that way. So let's do it over here and be compassionate and help them. In all of our providers, it's just kind of a top-down approach. You have to exercise and you've got to change the way that you eat. Because if you don't, this is going to be a horrible ride. You might lose some weight, but you're going to feel like crap the whole time. What's the goal here?
If someone's listening to this and is like, oh, the KORB sounds interesting, who is an ideal client for you? What are the kind of people that you're interested in connecting with?
On the business side, anybody that thinks that there's an opportunity for them, or they have a large population or demographic that they want to send this information out to, that's what we're looking to connect with. Whether it's fitness, wellness, I think who and how this is kind of getting out there is really starting to change as well. We talked a little bit about your massage company. We've kind of in negotiations with companies like that as well, because again, all of these services are going to get more people coming to them as this demographic starts to become more fit, more healthy. They're going to be looking, oh, massage, I never even thought about getting one, but I want to go try this out. So we're looking for folks that really might have a niche. It's kind of across the board. Our health and wellness, I'm just one division in this. We work with school districts and companies as a perk. Insurances aren't covering this, so trying to figure out how to go about getting it. We are really that solution for whoever really wants to put this in front of their folks and have it delivered in a way that I personally would put my stamp of approval on, because there's care. there's quality. We're going to do everything that we can to make sure that the results are there, but at the same time that we're not going to really cut any corners to get you.
It is a little bit of a Wild West kind of landscape right now. And so I think making an educated decision around who you choose to partner with is critical, just to make sure you're not a victim to some of the chaos and maybe misinformation that's out there. You mentioned peptides a little bit earlier. And to me, I separate peptides from GLP-1s, but give us a little bit of education about like how peptides fit into the health and wellness landscape.
So peptides have been around, again, a long time. Bodybuilders have been using a lot of them for years and years. The FDA hasn't really approved any of them. They make them available to compound or not available. So they sit in these kind of gray areas. And right now, a lot of them that are being used sit in this gray area. And peptides can do anything from joint healing, muscle tissue, soft tissue growth, mental, muscular. The breadth of what they cover is really kind of mind-blowing. The longevity stuff that everybody's really talking about has a lot to do with peptides, of making your telomeres longer, which I went through anatomy class and all these biology classes in college. I don't ever remember talking about telomeres. And now that's kind of in a general, oh, longevity. Yeah, your telomeres are going to grow. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. We're really going to have the opportunity to see where these new compounds take us. And good or bad that they are kind of naturally occurring, it's a little bit tougher to, let's say, like overdose on them. You can make yourself sick by taking in too much. But the thing that we're really is gray on them right now is how to really, at mass, be able to say, this is how much this is going to take for you. This is how much it's going to take for you. The male to female, like there's a lot going on in how these things are going to be distributed. And it's not the same for a 200-pound male over a 130-pound female. So there's a lot of different things. Labs need to be done to really be taken care of on all this. And again, back to the care. You can get it. Retatrutide isn't even out yet. And it's the buzz. It's already become the number one kind of biohack from the younger 20 groups. Ozempic and Wegovy, the compounding semaglutide, tirzepatide, those are for weight loss. Retatrutide is for longevity and enhancing your life. And it's crazy how in such a short amount of time, these drugs have already found classifications for themselves. I listened to this thing last week that there are parties out in Silicon Valley, peptide parties, where they all get together and share how they're compounding and the blends they're putting together and all this stuff. Like, you are 100% correct. The Wild West is upon us. I've dabbled in it, which I always kind of do because I want to see what it's going to feel like so I can really talk to it. And I can tell you there's 100% difference getting something from a vetted pharmacy that you know that they have vetted where they're buying their compounds from compared to something online. 2 weeks ago, Peptide Sciences, which was one of the largest kind of online peptide distributors, just shut down their website. They're done. I think with what RFK said about these peptides coming, that they're going to kind of be clamping down on the quality of them and how you go about getting them. This is going to be an interesting next few years.
My brain keeps on going to like, it's still such an opportunity because there's still a need for people to have personalized solutions based on their own age, weight, blood work, all of it, however you want to put a personalized profile together. Like, there's still a need for that, and we have all of the information, we have all the data that would be needed to put a personalized recommendation together to like build correct stacks for people. And then we're instead kind of generalizing food plate-esque kind of recommendations. We should be there because we have all of the pieces to be able to get there, and then we're not syncing with each other fast enough. And then therefore some 16-year-old kid who's, 100 pounds is going to take something that's meant for somebody double the weight, get it from the wrong source, and it's just going to be a black eye on the whole thing. Give me a positive example. Like, is there a brand that's doing these things great? You mentioned the peptide company that kind of like shuttered its doors. Are there trustworthy groups that you kind of have your eye on that you're like, where I play in this space, I'm playing with these people?
So there are a few large players in the pharmacy like this compounded pharmacy world here in the United States. And, if you do a little bit of history on compounding, it's been around a very long time, and they have always been here to help swoop in when the other name brand drug was at a loss. They couldn't get enough for the people, and these compounders would go to work and help to provide to make sure that everybody could get access to it, whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden, compounding became the pariah of the medical world when it kind of delved into these semaglutide, tirzepatide compounding. Because, you look at the numbers. Ozempic is the number one selling drug ever created across the world. And there are 357, I think, other blends right now being built by these companies. The pharma world is looking at it like that. We're going to put the stack together, but we're not going to let anybody else play in our playbox either. This is our sandbox. So we work with it's a personal friend of the owner of the company, is one of our pharmacy providers. And then we work with one of probably the number one largest called Pharma in the United States. They go through this vetting. They're getting tested all the time, and FDA is coming through. And as far as who's doing it, that's really of gray, because people are selling all these peptides right now. You can go online and look. This is where we have these discussions every month. When our exec team gets together, it's like they're doing it, but they're kind of like doing it and knowing that, yes, it's not going to be FDA approved, but the FDA is saying it's okay for these to be compounded. So you're kind of selling something that really shouldn't be sold yet. Yeah, we see it coming. We all see that it's coming. But it leads to exactly what you said. Like, those black eyes start to add up. I do see that the future of this is going to be very positive for lots and lots of people. It really is going to, I think, let people kind of get maximized, be where they want to be through. What I love about them is they're all kind of natural in a sense. Yes, they're going to be non-organically created in a lab, but that inside my body, they actually have receptors built for them, instead of going in and like forcing their way into an area just to help bolster that thing up. And that's the part about it that I do think is, because I'm with you on that. It's sitting on the crossroads again of wellness and, hey, I don't want to take any pharma drugs and all this other stuff.
It reminds me of proprietary blends that are in a lot of the protein powders, where it becomes a game, unfortunately, like black eye on the marketing space. It becomes a game of like who markets their product best versus who actually has the best blend. Because if we can just we can redact all the ingredients that are in our proprietary blend. So we're not going to tell you what's actually in here, but our logo is going to be the coolest, and therefore this product's going to win. And so I think that's what I'm looking out for, is just, can we avoid that trap again? And history repeats itself, so I'm sure it will go in that direction. But I think that's my personal watch outs. It's just like the best marketed product is not always the best product, unfortunately. So
I love that perspective. As you're saying that, I'm flashing back to, our CrossFit's been in business for 13 years, and now some of the brands that are gone, because once that proprietary blend was actually found out, it was like, you can't sell that. That can't go in there. So yeah, it'll be, hopefully at the end of the day, everybody is selling the same stuff, the same product. Then it comes down to the care. Are they really holding the standard to people, or do you just kind of just get online and go buy it and you're off to the races to figure out and do whatever it is you want to do? I think for the majority of people, it's going to be a very positive experience for a lot of folks. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and the guy that I was listening to is a Bitcoiner, but he's talking about longevity. And I was like, get out of this. This isn't your lane. And he's like, yeah, all my friends are talking about living to be 100. And he's like, or 150, like all these things are coming about how you can add years onto your life by taking all these different peptides. And I have an 8-year-old daughter, and he's talking about, young kids are just going to naturally live to be 150 because of all the advances that we're having. And I was like, that kind of reframed it a little bit for me, because this is where it's really going to have the ability to be able to take things that far down the road.
Time will tell. Maybe someone in 30 years will listen back to this podcast and be like, they said it. I want to kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about you and your background, because you have been in the fitness world for a really long time. And so what initially brought you into the fitness space?
Just being active. I think my whole young life, I started college and I was going to be a police officer. Tell that because it makes me laugh so hard internally where I'm like, yeah, I was going to be a police officer. But I got this part-time job fortunately, I grew up in the Midwest in one of the largest steel mill towns in the world at that time. They've created an endowment that we have the most amazing park district that you could ever imagine. And all these programs are free. So I get this job working after school, these after school programs. And it's teaching little kids different sports. Baseball comes up. We have batting cages, with pitching machines and all this just amazing stuff where I'm like, this is really cool. But I also really found that, working with little kids was fun. Really seeing when they got it and how excited they were when they all the work and the practice that we put in and they nailed it, how exciting that was. And then I immediately was like, okay, I do not really want to be a police officer. I don't know what I'm doing on this track. So I decided to go to school to be a PE teacher, get into that. I'm really enjoying it. Very fortunate to have gone to school in Illinois where PE was a staple. It was an expectation that every day you went and you learned, and people were really passionate about it. So went through school there, taught for a couple of years in Illinois, and then moved to Texas. And I was like, whoa, things are completely flipped upside down. They're like, hey, you have athletics first period and eighth period of the day. And I'm like, what is that? They're like, you go coach. You just have time in your day to coach. I was like, oh, okay. And how just flip-flop. PE, nobody cared. They were like, hey, you're doing a great job. You don't send anybody to the office. I was like, whoa, the standards are pretty low here. Kept teaching and just started to build my own way with it. Got the opportunity. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, the government was giving away large grants to schools to be able to implement technology into their physical education programs. School I was at got $1,000. Really, there was one place that you could spend it was with Polar because they had heart rate monitors and all this technology to use. And I was blown away because it really started to put a different twist on, like, I can get kids to really understand what we're trying to do. Like, hey, I want you to go run this. And they're, middle school kids like, why? What am I going to do this? So sent me to Albuquerque. I got trained on all these tools, came back and really implemented them and started to see with the kids the shift of like, oh, you want me to go do the mile run, but there are parameters around it now. Don't just go run it fast and you're going to get an A, like stay within these zones. So kids started to have a little bit more, they would do the stuff a little bit more. Like, hey, okay, hey, I'll go do this. You're basing it off me. Well, I happened to have my training in Albuquerque with the director of the education department. He reached out, I applied, I moved to Albuquerque 3 months later and got involved in Polar, which then became a PhD in heart rate training and exposed me to a totally different world of, I'm hanging out with, state champion cyclists and mountaineers and everybody's doing all these things that I'm a team sports guy. And all of a sudden I'm seeing what fitness and activity look like in totally different worlds. And that really kind of sets it in stone. When you kind of enter in this fitness world, you stay in it. That really, I started to learn so much about how we operate, and a little can go a long way. And so then I got to train people from all over the world at our Albuquerque office. And I traveled around the country and taught people how to use these. PE is not necessarily the place where people are going to advance, or to technologies, like not the thing that most of them are into. So I started to get a little frustrated as I'm out there in the field that they had all this opportunity, but didn't really see how it could change the kids' lives. Like, this is about them, not about you. And that was really the most exciting thing. It's just like, I've learned something now that I can use with anybody and everybody. And after Polar, I kind of went out on my own. I was like, I don't really want to do a company again. Started to get into, I guess I'll turn all the things that I like to do into companies. So started riding bikes. At the time, Lance Armstrong was Lance Armstrong that everybody loved. I live in Austin, Texas, so everybody's riding bikes. I really got into it. Also, at the same time, I was like, this is the most intimidating thing I've ever done. Like, I get it. You're showing up essentially naked to a group to go ride. You have no idea what's going on. So we created a company around that, created a community to help alleviate that, the stress of all that stuff. got burnt out, of course, because now I'm on my bike every day training people and all this stuff. I got into CrossFit. It's like, oh, I need something different. Again, it was the communal thing that really drew me to it. Like, this is really cool. You have all these people suffering that at the end of it, you can all share, whether I did 10 pounds or they did 200 pounds, we all felt the same. Like the stimulus across the board was very much the same. I was like, whoa. Again, I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, I like this. I think I could do this. So open up a gym and, we start doing it. I have one woman that's been with us now for 18 years. She was with our cycling company. She's essentially almost like our kid's grandma. She comes and hangs out. She's their aunt. The relationships that you build through this are absolutely unbelievable. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. It got me to where I'm at right now in this position, which is, it seems way out of bounds in a sense. But I think, like you had mentioned earlier, this is where we're starting to finally, let's get our arms around all of this. I think we're about 10 years away from telehealth really being the only way. That generationally, doctors, my mom's in her 70s. It's like she'll only do what the doctor says. She doesn't want to get on a telehealth. But you go down 30 below, they're like, I don't have time to go to the doctor. Like, bring it here. So to be in it again of this thing, this shift that's really coming and it's going to affect us all, the coaching could be done just like this. I could be coaching 300 people at a time. They'd be all over the world. It's super exciting.
It's a crazy time to be in the industry for sure. You kind of start with like manual check-in processes, key card tag. Now we're in apps and face recognition and AI. If someone were to come to you and say, hey, Dave, it's amazing what you've done in the fitness industry. I also want to work in the fitness industry. What advice would you share with them?
Really, the why. Why do you want to do it? And then don't let anybody sway you away from that. If it's about the people and that's what you focus on, you'll be successful. And don't let anybody really get you to think away from that, unless you're ready. Even at the top level, it's the people. It's all the people that walk through those doors. How do you connect with them? You don't get to have a bad day. But it was one of the things that we always talked with our coaches. It's like, listen, this is the no negative zone. So when people come in, you leave all the crap out there, you come in here, you get to be that thing, and who knows what it's going to be for that person that could be the thing that changed the rest of their day. Man, that's a great opportunity. So hang on to it. Your why is really why we do all the things that we do, but make sure it's yours.
I love it. If you weren't working in the fitness industry, what would you be doing?
I, for the first time, have a hobby that I actually like doing. So I'd be fishing. I would be out just hanging out, fishing.
Interesting. Yeah, I would not have pinned you for a fisherman.
No, it's the first thing that I feel like I tell my wife all the time. I'm like, I don't want to start a job around this. Like, this is great. I don't even think about like, oh, I could start a YouTube channel or something. I'm like, no. Let's just go out there and enjoy the time, lose some lures, and come on back home.
Just for the fun of it.
Yep.
Have you ever been in somewhat of a low season, and how did you orchestrate a comeback?
This is kind of from an operator perspective. In 2013, in Austin, Texas, there were probably 65 CrossFits. And at that time, people were suing CrossFits because of noise. Dropping the weights. We blew up super fast and everything was great. And then all of a sudden I started to get complaints. I never had to deal with that. It was 24 hours a day of being nervous that, I'm going to get shut down. How far are they going to take this? Because I was watching in town, another CrossFit the neighborhood was suing them. I wasn't even contemplating any of that. As a small business owner, you're like, I'm just doing fitness here. What do you mean? And that really put me in a spot where it was tough to get up. It felt like something that I had no control over. It lasted a couple of years and I just had to keep showing up because there was nothing else I could do. And I just did it. And anything that came to me, I heard them. I listened. I was empathetic with what they were saying and tried to create solutions. At the end of the day, as long as I felt like I was trying, that's all that kind of kept me going. It's just like, okay, just keep showing up. As new things come up, maybe this will never go away, but I can frame it some other way. And, eventually it kind of did. And I think one of the things with owning any business, that somebody could be grumpy no matter what, and they have to walk by something that they don't like, and hey, there's nothing I can do about that. So what's the goal? Why are we here? What are we doing? And eventually it kind of subsided and I just had a new way of dealing with it. So That was very, very stressful. Very stressful.
It's really hard to be everything to everyone, for sure. So you took the right approach. We covered a ton of ground, but is there anything top of mind we did not touch on that you want to wrap up with? Or do you want to share who you think should be the next CrossFit CEO?
Oh, geez. I'll say I want Greg Glassman to come back and just take CrossFit over again.
Okay, you do. There's some people who don't. So give us the reasons why.
I learned so much when I studied for my L1 certification that I didn't learn going through a kinesiology program at university. And that alone to me was like, he even told me in there, hey, keep your bathrooms clean. Do some of these other things. And I'm not going to put any restrictions. Be the best. If somebody opens up next door and you're not the best and you lose, that's your fault. Put into it what you want to get out of it. And he kind of defined fitness, which I think for a lot of folks, the word has no meaning to a lot of people because there's no reference to it. Oh, you're fit. How do you know? Just by looking at me? So when he put all this stuff together, the continuum that he created about, hey, if you can deadlift double your body weight, these are markers that we can show what a healthy person is. If you're not, okay, let's go to work on those. And then 100 words to describe the whole platform. And a lot of it had to do with what you eat. You know, you kind of become what you eat. It was revolutionary. I have a friend that when she found out I was starting a CrossFit, immediately reached out to me. And she's like, you used to hate on it all the time. And I was like, well, you know, people change. You got to learn. And unfortunately, I think for the VCs that bought it, probably the worst purchase they ever made because it's not the revenue thing. The thing that brought the revenue was about him in a sense and the passion that people had and the delivery of everything that you were receiving. You can't can that.
All right. We'll see if your prediction comes true.
Does that be on, is it Polymarket? We'll watch that.
I'll tag him in this podcast and maybe that'll sway the numbers. But it was so great to chat with you today. And thank you for sharing everything that you do for the industry. And thank you for sharing everything that you did with us here today on the Society Pod.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Society Pod.